right, welcome back to the Smart Within Show. I am Dr. Josh Rankin. Today we have Josh Hester with us. He's the owner of Storyteller Studios, an amazing production company here in Springfield, Illinois. He is a master storyteller and he has worked with us for a long time. And I'm excited to dig in with you about value number 2, partnering to serve others. I'm a firm believer that the power of story is immense and that it plays a big role as we help move people along. So welcome, Josh.
Thank you. Thanks. You have coffee cups and everything.
Got water?
It's like Jimmy Fallon. Are we going to do a karaoke battle?
We could. Dental karaoke battle. I always feel like we have to add a dental twist to this because most of the audience who maybe people are, I don't know, if anybody watches this, it'll probably be dental peeps, maybe.
Sure.
So I feel like we should have some dental tie-in. We thought about having another dentist and do like between two dentists.
Like between two ferns?
Like Zach
I
Galf.
like that. Yeah.
So today, the reason I wanted to, a lot of dentists have a lot of our team members on our dental team have a very common challenge. And a lot of it is, and you know this, you've been a dental patient, often people are kind of reluctant to kind of move forward with dental care, to visit the dental office, and to kind of, and our mission is to help move patients to health and keep them there. And what I wanted to talk to you about today is I feel like your whole life is telling stories to help move people along a path, right? No matter who you're working for.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. How do you move people along? When you sit down and you're getting to know someone who wants to tell a story, what are you looking for?
Well, I think one of the things that I've always really admired about you and your practice and the way you do work is that you're conscious of the patient's story when they come in. People come in to sit in your chair, I don't know, with some baggage, right? Usually. Maybe they've had a really bad dental experience somewhere else when they were younger. Maybe they had no dental experience and it's just a matter of fearing what they don't know. So I think being conscious of that, and then, you're always working hard to move it away from the transactional. You've described how, sometimes to me, you've described how a dental office can turn into a super transactional deal, like a mechanic, like you're working in a auto body shop or something. Like the patient comes in and you do the work and then they leave, and you're much more about being conscious of the story, having a conversation. I think you do this with most all your patients. You have a conversation with them first before any work is done about some of their history, their own personal history, and their previous experience with dental care, and then incorporating that in.
One of the things that I think that it's important to do is always find what is the problem, right? I think you and I have talked about the hero story, right?
Mm-hmm. And so I can break that down.
Right, and because we think of our patients as going through the hero's journey, theoretically, right? They're the hero. I think a lot of businesses they say, Josh, come in and do a video about our place because we're the hero. We want to demonstrate that we're the hero out there in the world, that we can serve all these people. Why is that wrong?
That's a great question. And in business marketing terms, this would be referred to as positioning, right? How are you positioning your service and the way you talk about it? And in particular, in the medical field, we're talking about dentistry, but also in the medical, we do a lot of work for the medical field. There has been this idea historically that it's important that the patient know that you're competent and that you are an expert, and that you've been to 25 years of school to do this.
Keep it coming.
And we know everything there is to know about.
We're basically omniscient. We want people to know.
Right, you're omniscient, and also, and the other piece of that is we have all of the fanciest tools and equipment, to do this work. And I hate to break it to you, but the patient doesn't care about any of that, or at least not as much as we think they do. I think what they care more about is to what extent you're paying attention to them just as a person. And so someone who markets their business or talks about their service in the way of I'm an expert in this field. We have all the fancy technology and equipment. They're positioning themselves as the hero in the story, and that's a mistake. They're not. The patient is the hero. I don't know. I always use Star Wars as a good example of this idea. In Star Wars, you have the hero who's Luke Skywalker. And now, by the way, I'm talking about the original Star Wars, because there's a lot of them now. You have to clarify. So, A New Hope, to get technical, is what we're talking about. So, in that original Star Wars, Luke Skywalker, basically, he finds out that he is a part of this Jedi lineage, right? Which is a big idea. That's an internal conflict he's experiencing. The external conflict is, there's this battle going on between the rebels and the Empire. So that's the external conflict. And then along the way, he meets Yoda, right? And Yoda is his guide. Yoda is a Jedi himself, is a part of that lineage. He knows what it means. And he helps Luke understand that about himself, and then gets out of the way. We in the service business, and you as a dentist, are the Yoda to your patients. It's a great example, and I think so. When you are talking about your products and services with patients or potential patients, when you're putting together a print ad or whatever it is that you're doing, you want to position your patient as the hero and yourself as the guide.
It's so funny because I've heard you say that over and over again to us, like when we're doing our social media videos or the things that you help create for us, to be Yoda, right?
Yeah, and you guys have done a really good job of that. And it requires some vulnerability, but that's part of what endears, your patients to you. Like, I think that your patients come to you and your staff because you're experts and you know what you're doing. And they come to you because they know that you have the tools required to do the work really well. And if you think about it, that's kind of baseline stuff, right? Don't we expect that?
Sure.
Like, I've always been a little mystified when I see a healthcare clinic advertise that they have the latest and greatest technology. Well, you're supposed to,
Right. We
Like,
sterilize our instruments.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, that's like baseline. But they come to you for those reasons. But I think they also come to you, and they definitely stay with you because they feel like they're a part of what you're doing. And they really enjoy the culture of this place and the way it feels, And you don't accomplish that by talking about yourself as an expert or talking about your tools. You accomplish that by including them in the story you're telling and telling their story.
So when it's, where do you find, so first of all, I think that's about as accurate as you can be with the mismatch between what dentists ourselves, we always have this, we want people to know how much we care, and we care so much that we do things this way, but we often leave out the very empathetic part, acknowledging them as the real, main part of the story. So,
right.
So when it comes to, telling stories, do you find that what level, this is a question I always have in my mind, what level's the right level of vulnerability, and at what level of vulnerability do you expose yourself too much and lose credibility?
Oh.
Was that like when we did the Harlem Shake as a dental office 5 years ago? It was close.
I thought that was great. Well, I'll use you as an example again. Well, first of all, to answer your question generally, personally, I would err on probably at the time when you feel like it's a little too vulnerable, it's just right.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Because
my threshold is already pretty low.
One of the things you've done, which is really cool, is you and your other physician partners we've produced videos that we post on your Facebook pages that all your followers see, and they're public, anyone can see them, where you talk about the dental care you've had.
Sure.
And I think
The enormous amount of dental care I've had.
you yourself have had like 6 root canals, right?
Yes, I have been. Yes, I'm a connoisseur of dentistry. I like
Yes.
to say.
So you had a lot of dentistry in your life,
Yes.
and you don't hear dentists talk about that, right?
Right.
I mean, I haven't. It's like, and there's something powerful there because, first of all, I've had 1 root canal, so I'm already better than you in that way. But as a patient,
Just one of the ways, but yes.
right? But as a patient, you're thinking, oh, okay, like they're human too. You know, it's sort of a basic thing that happens.
Earlier when you talk about the hero story, how important is it for Yoda to be a Jedi too, right? Like, how important is it to have something in common
Yeah.
before you...
Well, I think it's critical. I mean, why would Luke listen to him if Yoda was like, well, I've read some books about it,
Sure.
and here's what the books say. You know, I don't know. I think if you've lived it and you get it, then, you know, you can talk about it. Like, so there are probably key moments in someone's care where maybe that comes up. Maybe someone's having their first root canal and they're worried about it. And imagine how powerful it is. You say to them, you know, I've had 6 of these and I'm a dentist.
Right.
So, you know what I mean?
It's so true. Yeah, and well, the interesting thing for me is I think I went through so much as a kid and as a young adult, and I kind of bounced around, and I got a lot of transactional care. Nothing was really ill-meaning, but, you know, I like
Right.
had a little bit of work here. I got to the dentist in the dental school, some stuff go on there, had some kind, and I always wish someone would have just stopped with me and said, all right, like, let's get you to okay, and let's keep you there. You know, before I was a dentist, but through all that bouncing around, and, you know, I got short-term fixes here and there. And that's a lot of what informs our whole health path. You know, like in my mind, our journey to health is kind of like laying the groundwork for that story. And then the hero, our patients are going to navigate their way along that path. Mm-hmm. And so frequently, we already talked about learning, you know, to understand our patient and like really taking the moment to kind of understand the main character, right? But then, you know, now I think we're talking more about then once we understand them, then try to be understood and demonstrating a little bit something about us that creates a connection where we have a commonality.
Right.
And then I think we're poised to go on a journey together.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, like, when you're telling a story, what do you look once the conflict is established, once the main character is understood, what is it that makes it? And you don't have to necessarily relate it to dentistry right now, but what is it that makes for a good story after that?
Well, I think you got to celebrate the successes, and then you're also reminding them that you can't do it for them. You know, they're gonna have to do some of it, like Coach and Rocky. You know, Coach can't get in the ring with Rocky. Rocky has to do it, but he's there at ringside. You know, always encouraging him and everything. So, I think that's part of it.
So I think a part of it for me is like helping people discover a little bit about themselves and discover their own, like our patients anyway is, it's so funny. A lot of times I think stories help us discover a little bit about ourselves. And, you know, when we're trying to help people through this and navigate this path to health, a lot of times we have to kind of challenge them, pose questions, challenge them to kind of find ownership of their own health.
Sure.
Which is kind of a nuanced thing. And I find that stories often help people start to realize that or discover that it is their own smile. It's not, you know what I mean? It's not
right.
that we want something more, you know, for them than they do. You know, back to the idea of like when you go to other businesses and you go to tell stories for people, you've been a really good coach for us anyway, of helping us be vulnerable, tell stories in a certain way. I think you've had a lot of valuable things over time, and I think a lot of dentists we're always just kind of like Facebook or some of these things on our periphery of our
right.
orbit. What should we be doing on that?
Oh, yeah.
And what kind of advice do you have there?
Well, first I like to point out that the American public has been marketed to in the same way for over 50 years. And things are changing now. Now, depending on your demographics, some of that stuff still makes sense. But more and more, people want to feel closer to the products and services that they are purchasing. They want to feel like they're a part of it. Even when it comes to charity work, and we work with a lot of nonprofits, people want to feel closer to the dollars they're contributing. They want to feel like they're a part of the story that's being told. So it's not one-sided anymore. And that is the inspiration for what we mean when we say valuable. So when we produce marketing content for you, it's not just for the sake of, hey, we're here and we do dentistry and we do it well. It's here's something valuable you can take with you. We don't expect anything in return, just something valuable you can take with you. You know, I'm trying to think of one of the examples we did with you, and these are all, you know, the best place to start is to say, well, what do you hear from your current patients? What are people like when people sit down with your doctors? What do they ask them about? You know, we've done a lot of video work around parents and with young kids, and you know, how long are they going to have their baby teeth? How to care for their kids' teeth? Like how soon do you start brushing their two little teeth that come in? You know, things like that. Those kind of common questions that get asked, and there's a million of those. You make a 30-second little video of you talking or one of your staff talking about, like, you know, we get a lot of patients ask us this question, and here it is, and there you go. So it's valuable. It's like a tip, a trick they can take with them. You're improving their life in some way. It's valuable, and then, you know, later down the road when they need dental work, chances are good that you'll be top of mind because they've already gotten something valuable from you.
Well, here's the thing. Like, then we get into some of probably the entertaining posts that we've done.
Entertainment is valuable. Yeah. Even if it just, like the Harlem Shake is valuable. Now, people might look at that and go, well, it's just silly dancing around. But, like, it's valuable because it's entertaining, because it humanizes you guys. And, yeah, so people find that valuable.
But then I see some of these, now it's like, now there's a lot of like dentists singing videos. There's some dentists on the East Coast I've seen, like, where they have some of these things. And some of those things where I feel like, wow, if we go way too far out there, we're just way off of our...
Like zany.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how valuable is zany, you know?
Yeah.
We
don't want to be zany all the time, but
Sure.
some of the time's okay.
Just a little bit. Small doses of entertainment.
Yeah.
Some good Yoda guide type material.
Yeah. And the other thing that's important to think about with this stuff is the channels you're using to reach people. You know, you mentioned Facebook, social media. That's still it's a mystery for a lot of people. It comes down to demographics. Who are you trying to reach? You have a customer, and there are certain things you know about your customer, about how old they are, whether they're male or female, do they have young children, those kinds of things. The more you know about your customer, the more you can tailor those messages, you know, in a way that they'll respond. And also, the better decisions you can make about where you put the content to reach them, right?
Got it.
So, the latest example I've been using is Snapchat, because it's new. Well, it's not new anymore, is it? Relatively new. Should we be on Snapchat? Well, who's your customer, right? Now, if you look at the demographics on Snapchat, it skews younger, okay? So if your customer are college kids, yeah, maybe you should think about being on Snapchat. But if your customer is retirees, yeah, maybe you don't need to worry about it. You know what I mean? So
Sure.
You want to be strategic in that way, not only where you place your messages, but in what those messages are.
So, when it comes to like our getting back to our value of this is all about, being really good at partnering to serve other people. Mm-hmm. When it comes to like just doing an amazing job at that, I find that you tend to always, you tend to repeatedly do a good job no matter what industry we're in. I think I've seen you work from trucking industry to dentistry to healthcare to all these ranges.
Right.
Like how do you, when you've seen the best success, is it about that type. Tell me more about like when you've seen the best success, when people have done the very best at doing a good job of telling a story, that they're and partnering, like it working. Talk about that. What have been some of the best? How do people do the best job at that?
Well, first of all, you kept saying you, and I just want to acknowledge I have a team here. My whole team's here this morning. So they're there behind the camera. They do a lot of this work too.
So serving other people takes is it a large part, your own partners within your organization?
Oh, yeah, for sure. But, one example I'm thinking of it's another healthcare example. We recently did a TV commercial for St. John's Children's Hospital, which is the children's hospital that serves our region. It's and instead of they were going to air it on the Super Bowl, right? So the tendency is to control that message. Like, okay, so we need to have a script that some omniscient narrator reads about how great the children's hospital is.
Sure.
And maybe, getting at what we've already covered a little bit, maybe they're talking about how great their facilities are, or how great their physicians and nurses are, which, by the way, can all be true, right? But our client didn't choose to do that. Instead, they chose to put on camera 3 moms of children that had been served by the Children's Hospital, some of them in life-threatening situations, and there was no script. They sat down in front of our cameras and we had a conversation about their experience with their child, about their experience at the hospital. We talked about what it felt like. We went there. We went to some really vulnerable places. And then, we cut that. We made the 30-second spot out of that. So what you had in the end was a message that was true, coming from the heroes, right, who are these families and the kids. And I don't think there was any voiceover. There was no voiceover. It was really just, they handed over the story completely to the moms, to their credit. And it's been very successful. It's gotten a lot of attention. It did very well in the marketplace. And it's the important thing is that it's memorable. People will remember it, So it was a TV spot. It aired on the Super Bowl, right? But it will have shelf life because people will remember that.
I think that's nice. I mean, I think in any partnership, as authentic as you can be.
Mm-hmm. But think about that, what that requires. This is why I give so much credit to our client, because it required them to kind of let go. They had to be vulnerable in a way. They'd say, okay, we're not going to have a script. They're looking to me and the production team beforehand. They're like, we're buying this airtime for the Super Bowl. What is this going to be? And our answer is, well, it's going to be kind of roughly this, and we can't really give much more assurance than that. So it takes a lot of trust. Everyone has to trust each other, but the results are really, really powerful. So
that's so good to hear. I mean, I think anyone who's watching this is always tempted to think that there's some overly done, overly produced message that as a business owner, that we can put out in the world, it's just going to that's just going to be amazing, and it's going to, it's all just could just be manufactured out of thin air. But I mean, really just foregoing that and just sticking with some authentic reality, probably created a more significantly positive outcome than anything like that could have ever done.
Yeah, and the other thing I have to point out about that is that the story was true. Right. That's important. It has to be true. You talked in the very beginning a little bit about the conflict between the story you're telling about your products and services and then what they actually are. You need to make sure it's true.
Sure.
That's a requirement. But if it's true, absolutely you should be telling it. And you should be like you've asked a lot of your patients to do video testimonials.
Right.
I think that's great. Who better to talk about the care they receive here than regular people that have received it, right?
Sure. Yeah, those are those are so fun to see because yeah, you can just feel the impact that you're making with people too. So when people work with you, I mean, I feel like I've gotten a lot out of this as far as some even things like that. We often go off track and we're doing other things, but this has been very valuable. So thank you.
Oh.
So
You
when
I have a chest cold.
and you came in ailing.
Yeah. That's
So
fine.
I just want to say, tell me more about if people want to partner with you to help tell a story or to help, serve their organization. What should they do?
Oh, well, we have a website on the internets that they can go to, thestorytellerstudios.com,
Yep.
where you can see some of our work and reach out to us. But I will say also, this is something you can do now. I mean, you can do it. You can start doing this tomorrow. Ask a patient who has been pleased to write a Facebook review for you on, it's fine to ask people to do that. Write a post that includes a quote from them about the care they've gotten. Or, you just start to think about, I don't envy the job that you're in because it's so easy to get into that transactional mode of like, there's a new patient at 1, oh, there's a new patient at 2, oh, there's a new patient at 3. And like, meanwhile, these are real people.
Right.
And maybe the patient at 1 is fine with seeing the dentist. Maybe the patient at 2 has never seen the dentist, and the patient at 3 has seen a dentist and is terrified. You know what I mean? There's stories walking in the door all the time. So it's something you have to be really conscious of. And you can start doing that immediately.
That's cool. Yeah, that's why as our organization grows, and a lot of people who may watch this may have a growing practice with that problem, right? Of you may have more than one doctor. You may have a team of 50 or 500 people, and one of the things that we're trying to do in our organization. So as we grow, we want it to get better, right? I think a lot of times when we see organizations grow, it gets kind of worse, and I think keeping the hero in mind, the path on which we're trying to help them navigate. And really what it comes down to is I think you and I are talking about partnering doesn't really go well without really understanding each other fully before we get started on our journey.
Right.
And, for our organization, that I think is the key for growth. Like to the extent which we can keep seeing new stories walk in the door, identify authentically the reality of those stories, and then, serve them uniquely over time. I mean, I think that's the only barrier for us in our ability to grow. But laying out this kind of our patient's journey on the wall in every operatory and every practice is really meant to help center new team members over the years and new patients over the years to get back to this fundamental thing that you and I are talking about.
Well, you've done a really good job making it part of your culture. So let me ask you, because I've learned a lot from you as well. One of the key metrics that you tell me that is important to you is not necessarily the number of new patients you're getting in any kind of month, but whether or not they stay.
Yes.
Right? Because you want patients to stay with you, want a long-term relationship with them.
Great.
And that's a metric that always looks good for you. Patients stay with you once they come over. So why do you think that is?
Part of me thinks it's back to that where we've been successful has been the consistency at which we've tried to really connect with people before rolling out a bunch of dentistry or pushing anything or really, offering any opportunity before kind of knowing about them before we even decide where we're going. I would think that that's helped. I think that at some level, that resonates with our patients. It's interesting though, some of which though, like when we started working together 3 years ago, I think, originally I thought that was a good idea, but now it's becoming more clear to me. It's like, it's not just it's not a passing thing. Like the extent which we can do this well really is our only limit as an organization, and really is the only real bottleneck in creating a healthier community. So yeah, I feel like that's helped make successful. And ironically, I think doing social media has made us double back on, well, what are our audience's problems? What are our patients coming in? What's their notion, right? What's their background? How's dentistry gone in the past for them? We ask a lot of questions that I felt like I never asked whenever I realized, like, okay, we've laid out this concept. Well, let's really dig in. And that's what we're doing here today is like, what, and thanks again, but like, what can we revisit about this patient journey and learn a little bit more about? And you had a few really good things there that are kind of not only reinforcing what we're doing, but that we can take back to the room when we're meeting that patient for the first time. So I appreciate it. But yeah, I would say that's really been the key to our success. I would say in the future, our key to success is helping our team. So some of my team members are here today too, helping our team, our growth and development coordinator, right? So she's helping all of our team members grow in their ability to connect with a patient, to understand them well. And sometimes everybody just wants to come in and learn where the drill is, or where do we keep the burrs, or
well, that's part of it, yeah. But again, that's baseline.
Yeah.
You're supposed to know where that stuff is.
Right. So yeah, so we're really trying to dig into this very thing, and I think that'll hopefully keep us successful. Interestingly, our patient retention rate has climbed ever since we started working together with you, and I think because we've been getting better and better at focusing on who we're trying to serve and doing a good job and their problems. But yeah, it's interesting. I was looking at some data. Our patient retention rate, or one good way to take an indicator was 3 years ago. So the number of patients who left with an appointment was 58%, and now 3 years later, was at 89.7%.
Wow!
Across all of our practices. So if that is a testament to success, I mean, those are fewer patients that you have to go out and reel in and market to externally, just by doing a better job of understanding our current patient community, and really kind of making sure that we keep them on the journey, and instead of just kind of transactionally treating them and letting them float off back into the world. So I'm pretty proud of that. I think that as long as we can maintain, that is a real big indicator to me that what we're doing in our organization, and I think like with people like you, is valuable. So thank you.
You're welcome. Well, I think the number one thing that makes you different than other dentists is that you and the team have a really good sense of why you're doing this, right?
Yeah.
It's not just to fill cavities or do root canals. You're doing this because you want to make the community healthier. And that's the way you talk about it, right? It's like my team and our little company, we make videos, right? We're a video production company, but that's how we do what we do. But really, our mission is to connect people, right? So I think you have to have a good sense of why you're doing it. And then, you credit the videos with patients staying longer. I think it was all already there. I think it was just a matter of putting it on display and inviting people in to be a part of that,
Well, thanks for letting us be a part of it with you, and thanks for coming to our show today. So if you want to learn more, go to smilefromwithin.com, where you can check out some stuff. You can download a version of our Patient Path to Health if you're curious about that. And we'll have some links there where you can check out Josh at Storyteller Studios with their team. And thanks again.
And send candy. No one, he never gets to eat any candy.
My eighth root canal.
Yeah, right. Send candy.
All right, thanks.